I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome you to our district-wide program for the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. Please know that it's very important that you know what has been done so that it affords you the opportunities to do many of the things that you are able to do now. In August of this year, it was the 50th anniversary for the March on the Capitol in Washington, D.C. And if you look and you research that information, you will find that there were a lot of things that people fought for, people died for, people were injured for, and they gave up so that you could have the freedoms that you have today. So as we go through the program, I want you to reflect on our theme, which is hope, action, and change. At this time, we will have Lift Every Voice and Sing, the Black National Anthem. It is going to be performed by our early college students, which were formerly Miller South students. Kofi Bawache on the piano and Jasmine Moore will sing.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring with a harmony of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. Stony the road, bitter the chastening rod, felt in the day that our hope had unborn and died. Yet with a steady beat, had not our weary feet come to the place on which our fathers sighed. We have come over away with the weed that water. We have come treading our path through the blood of the slaughtered, out from the gloomy past, till now we stand at last, where the white gleam of our story is these. God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, thou who hast brought us thus far on the way, thou who hast by thy night led us into the light. Keep us forever in the path we pray. places, our God, where we met. You blessed our hearts, drunk with the wine of the world. Empty, shadow beneath thine hand, may we forever stand true to our God, true to our native land.
We'll now have remarks from Mr. David James, Superintendent, Akron Public Schools.
Thank you and good afternoon to our Miller South students, our guests, as we celebrate our 2015 annual Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. celebration here in the Akron Public Schools. And to our students, I'd just like to say Dr. King's legacy is really an important part of not just American history, but world history, because Dr. King was concerned about everyone in terms of fairness and equity. At this time, I'd like to recognize Lisa Mansfield, our Akron Public School Board President. I know Reverend Walker was supposed to be here, but I don't see him, and I'd like to recognize City Councilwoman Marilyn Keith from Ward 8. And I don't see any other council people here, but I do see Billy Soule representing Mayor Don Plasquelic. Welcome. Back in 1965, I was about 4 years old, Dr. King gave the commencement address at Oberlin College, not too far away from here. And the speech was entitled, Remaining Awake Through a Great Revolution. And in his speech that day, he referenced an author named Washington Irving, who was born in 1783 and died in 1859. Washington Irving was an author, and he wrote a couple of stories. One of them you may recognize because it's now I think, fairly popular TV show. The story was The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. The other story that he wrote was Rip Van Winkle. How many of you are familiar with the Rip Van Winkle story? All right. So Irving wrote about Rip Van Winkle, who went to sleep for 20 years and awoke to a whole new world. And in Dr. King's speech, he referenced some details in the Rip Van Winkle story that he felt many people overlook. Because Rip Van Winkle journeyed to the top of a mountain, fell asleep for 20 years, and then came back, and you know some of the story. But as he journeyed to the mountain, he passed an inn. And for those of you who know your history, when he passed the inn, there was a plaque on the inn, and it had a picture of King George III, the King of England at the time. So Rip went up to the mountain, slept for 20 years, and on his way back, he passed the same inn. And on the placard, when he came back, there was a picture of George Washington, and Rip didn't know who George Washington was. Of course, he was the first president of the United States. And what Dr. King said is that Rip Van Winkle slept through a revolution. And I want to quote what Dr. King told those graduates of Oberlin College back in 1965. And it's this, I quote, "There are all too many people who, in some great period of social change, fail to achieve the new mental outlooks that the new situation demands. There is nothing more tragic than to sleep through a revolution." So my challenge to all of you today is to look around and try to see your world a little bit differently and prepare yourselves for the revolution that is taking place in the world of education and our world in general. because as future leaders, we're going to look to you to be able to handle those issues and problems that all of us face. Our world is changing extremely fast, and you have to be prepared for the world of tomorrow. So you must get your education today. So please don't fall asleep and wake up to find that the whole world has passed you by. This is my interpretation of what Dr. King was trying to say back then, and I think that still rings very true today. So let's sit back and enjoy our program, and I'll turn it back over to Mrs. Wilson so we can get on with the show. But thank you and enjoy.
I just wanted to introduce our piece. This is the String Orchestra, and the name of the piece that we're playing is called North Star to Freedom in honor of the Underground Railroad. It was commissioned by a high school or a junior high school honor orchestra in Cincinnati in honor of the Underground Railroad, which many of you know is the vehicle by which escaping slaves were able to move from the South into the North and eventually, hopefully, into freedom into Canada back in the mid-1800s. All of our students who are in 5th grade had the opportunity to visit the Underground Railroad Museum in Cincinnati. It's quite an interesting place to visit and to kind of put yourself in the shoes of escaping slaves, of abolitionists who risked a lot too in order to help these people escape. And this is a piece of what we call program music. And the composer, Soon Hee Newbold, doesn't give us exactly what happens in the story, but we want you to use your imagination as to what you think might be happening. The beginning is kind of slow, almost prayer-like, very nostalgic, but you have this little melody that keeps recurring. It's just a very short one-measure melody that's very reminiscent of maybe a spiritual. It's not an actual quote, but it has that type of feel to it. And there's one point at which the tempo changes. It goes very, very fast, and we feel in the orchestra that's when the person decided they're going to escape the bounds of freedom and head north. And you have almost a train-like sound going, I think, to depict the railroad, which really wasn't a railroad, but that's what they used, and the people helped for conductors. And the different trials and tribulations that happen to the escaping slave along the way to freedom. And sometimes it gets very, very quiet. You can almost hear the heartbeat. Sometimes it's very, very determined. And the end, I think, is very interesting because it doesn't end how you might think, and it kind of leaves it very open-ended. So I hope that you have a good time imagining what this journey may have been like, and we wish you luck on your journey.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Nathaniel DeVouvier, and the 7th and 8th grade concert choir is going to be taking the stage, and they're going to be performing a song about peace. It talks about the products of war and non-peaceful times, and how there are some things that bring us together, and one of these things is music. And the last words that you will hear in here are to symbolize the peace brought to us by those things that bring us together. The next song that's going to be sung after that is Man in the Mirror, which has kind of been show choir's theme song, and it's going to be performed by show choir. And it extols the things that I think Dr. Martin Luther King would have wanted us to think about, that the change in us begins with us, a single person, and I think he wholeheartedly believed that, and that's kind of been our theme, is that we are going to make that change happen with just us, that one person. Okay, this is Earth Song by Frank Tekeli. Next up, we would like to invite the fifth grade drama program to come, or fifth grade drama students to come up and do a performance on peace, hope, and love. And they are under the direction of Robert Keith.
Hope, action, change. Hope is freedom. Action is love. Change is hope is a difference. Action is fun. Change is the world. Hope is a dream. Action is movement. Change is letting go. Hope is peace. Action is adventure. Change is a difference. Hope is believing. Action is artistic. Change is change. Hope, action, change. Martin Luther King Day is about bringing people together. People who are rich and people who are poor, people who are happy and sad, people from Europe and South America and who are the same and different. This year, we want to thank Martin Luther King by giving back to our community. We will use our hope, we will use our action, and we will use our change to make a difference. And this year, we hope you do the same.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Eric Langry. I'm a band director here at Miller South. The only true American art form is jazz music. We're going to give you a little sampling of that today. We're going to start with some of the earliest music in jazz history, starting after the Civil War from New Orleans. The primary type of jazz music in the beginning was blues. Okay, the second piece we're going to play for you is blues at Frog Bottom. And the main component of blues music is improvisation. So you're going to see some soloists perform in there where they're improvising. They're going to be composing as they go. Now, they're not just playing any random notes. There's some guidelines they have to follow, but they're actually composing as they play. That's going to be our second tune in the early style of jazz. The first tune we're going to play for you today is called 1 O'Clock Jump. It's one of the signature tunes by the composer Count Basie. Count Basie was the preeminent composer of jazz music in the Kansas City style. Jazz music followed the Great Migration, starting from New Orleans, moving up the Mississippi River, stopping at Kansas City, continuing on up to Chicago before it went to New York. And Count Basie's style was a big band with using that swing feel, but he still had a lot of New Orleans influences in his music. You're going to hear some improvised solos in that selection as well. So the first one is 1 O'Clock Jump by Count Basie. The second tune is Blues at Frog Bottom by Dean Sorensen. Hagan leads Richmond trumpet solo, Jacob Murray trombone solo, and Cole Johnson alto sax solo.
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. We have a guest today, Mr. Kemp Boyd. He's going to present some closing remarks to us, and he's from Kenmore High School.
That's fine. Thank you so much. If we can give just another round of applause to all these talented young people. I really envy Dr. James because he got to go first before all the talent started to come forth. But my closing remarks is simple as this. Let's not get too familiar with the familiar. Let's not get too familiar with, hey, it's another Martin Luther King Day and we celebrate him and we honor him with, performances like these, and it's a great thing and it's what we do. But I want you to remember something that he said, that the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands in times of challenge and controversy. See, on Monday it can present two things to you. You can use it as a time of being comfortable and being convenient. Maybe you sleep in a little later than normal. Maybe you eat breakfast a little bit longer, or, you have a brunch, you have a time. But I'm going to challenge you today to go do something with your extra time. I want to challenge you to not to be so familiar with the familiar. Because this is the thing. When he says that the ultimate measure of a man is where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience. See, comfort and convenience only last for a moment, but the times to come will continually challenge you. Some of those challenges will cause people to say things against you, as it did Dr. King. And he could have sat down, he could have said, well, enough is enough. We've done some good things, and, we caused some good things to happen. Or you can take it a step further, because, see, I was always taught that if nobody's talking about you, and if I could just speak it, if nobody's hating on you, then it must be something that you're not doing. If we're trying to please the world around us and everybody here, then see, that's not honoring those that came before us. Because Dr. King, he didn't suit to please or to make people happy, but he went out to challenge people. But first of all, he had to challenge himself. First of all, he had to look at the man in the mirror and ask him, how far willing are you to go if you really want to make a change or an impact on the world? Because maybe doing this march is not good enough. Maybe staying in your own city or in your own comfort zone is not good enough. Maybe just sitting in your own school or your own district is not good enough. But it's about going to those challenging places to do something different, to bring about a change that will not only last the test of time or for that time, but it will go forth to where it gets honored every year. Let's not just be familiar with we honor him on a certain day, but let's carry this all throughout the year of how can we not only honor Dr. King, but how can we honor our parents? How can we honor our teachers, our coaches? How can we honor those that have made an impact on our lives? Not just because, well, they're in front of us, but every day when I go to school, every day when I go to work, first of all, I seek to honor my Lord, my Savior, Jesus Christ, who is my God. But then I have a responsibility to honor 5 people that I live with, my wife and my children. Now, I'm not just telling you this because I've never been challenged. 2 years ago, I happened to interview for a job, and I didn't get the job. And most of us who are adults can understand we don't get a job that you thought you should have got. You get a little bit upset sometimes. And some things happened at this particular place, because when she said Kim Board is from Kenmore, I didn't hear anybody jump up out of their seats and say, man, yes, Kim Board. Because if you've been reading the paper or if you watched the TV over the past maybe year and a half, 2 years, there wasn't a lot to shout about at Kenmore High School. But when I received a call last December and they said, we have a head coaching job open at Kenmore High School, everything in me said, run. But if I would have ran, then I wouldn't be a man of my word now. There's a challenge that we have at Kenmore High School, not just to educate, but to change the culture around us, to change the community, to change the mindset that people outside of our community have, and even the ones that are in the community. Understand something. The opportunities that come, they're opportunities because they are a challenge to you. I love what it said. Hope, action, and change. But change can only happen if you're willing to accept the responsibility that comes along as the challenge of the change. Everybody can always play their role and sit where it's comfortable. But understand something, your greatest amount of growth will happen when you make the decision to be uncomfortable. Thank you so much, and God bless.
Mrs. Wilson was detained by a camera back there, so she's in the middle of giving an interview. But thank you so much for celebrating with us, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. We appreciate your coming today, and thank you for visiting Miller South.